Hello, my name is James Wynn. I'm Director of Business Development at Attorney Credits. We're a provider of continuing legal education nationwide. And today we're going to talk about what the best strategies and practices are when engaging in live person events in your neighborhood, in your local social settings, face to face. We're also going to talk about how to engage online through social media platforms like Yelp and Facebook, and how to get really new business through that channel as well. And to help us discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Larry Bodine and Victoria Blute from our friends at Lawlytics. Welcome, guys.
James, thanks so much for having me on the program. I'm totally psyched today. We're going to give some great practical information for everybody listening.
Hi, James. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Victoria Blute, and I'm the community manager at Lawlytics. My job is to keep attorneys on the cutting edge of web technologies and online legal marketing, and to help you learn what works on the web. I come from a journalism background, and if you've read our blog or you've attended a few of our webinars, you might recognize me. Before we get into this presentation, I just want to briefly review who we are here at Lawlytics, what we do, and why it matters. So you have many choices of companies and technologies to design, build, host, and help you market your law firm's website. And at Lawlytics, we do all of that. And we also have a lot of competition. So what is Lawlytics? How are we different? Our company is obsessed with the pursuit of the most efficient method of marketing for each law firm. And as we see it, there are two major variables of efficiency. There's time and there's money. And Lawlytics was created to empower law firms to have unlimited marketing success without wasting time or money. And we have two different types of competitors. On the one side, we have full-service marketing companies, companies like FindLaw and Martindale Nolo. And Lawlytics is built to give attorneys all of the upsides of using a full-service company, but without exposing you to the potential risks and downsides. And on the other side are do-it-yourself software programs, things like WordPress and Wix, that are usually cheap or free to use. But these programs tend to come with some steep opportunity costs, and attorneys often struggle to make them work. And that has them wasting their time and missing some opportunities along the way. So while both full-service companies and do-it-yourself platforms are viable options, Lawlytics offers a more practical solution for lawyers. Our company works exclusively with attorneys, and our services are adaptable to every stage of a law firm's growth. So our members can start as small as they choose and then grow as big as they decide. And that's without taking dangerous risks or committing to things that might not work. And because our software is built exclusively for you, the attorney, the learning curve is really easy. And that enables our members to add to and edit their websites and turn their efforts into new business without struggling. And joining me today is Larry Bodine. And before I turn the mic over to him, I just want to quickly introduce you to him if you're not already familiar with his work. So for those of you who don't know Larry, Larry has a very impressive resume as both an attorney and as a legal marketer. He is currently the senior legal marketing strategist here at Lawlytics. And as well, he serves as the editor of the National Trial Lawyers and the editor of Mass Tort Nexus. And today I'm going to join him in discussing some effective methods for getting business from both your in-person and your online social media marketing. Larry, good morning.
Good morning, Victoria. I'm excited to be here. One of the things we do as a general practice, here at Lawlytics, and something I've always done, and in my just sort of a general practice of my own, is talk to people, listen to attorneys when they call up with issues. And, Victoria, the things that I hear over and over are, well, I feel awkward at networking events and I don't know what to do. How do I make people like me? Having gone to law school and practiced law school, I can tell you every attorney didn't go to law school to learn how to sell. And what I hear a lot is, I don't want to be a pushy used car salesman. This whole business development thing just somehow feels creepy to me. And then, of course, there's the fear of public speaking, which a lot of people have. And I hear a lot of attorneys say, I hate giving talks. And when I did one, it didn't produce anything.
And similarly, to the online corollary to that, I think a lot of times we hear from attorneys that, my search engine optimization isn't working. I'm not getting any business. It's costing me too much money. Or additionally, that you have attorneys who are buying pay-per-click advertising, and they're saying that those ads either don't bring the kind of business that they want, or if they do, it's really, if they do bring any business, it's generating random contacts and sometimes some undesirable work. And there was a quote that we thought was relevant to this, and it was from John Wanamaker, and it said, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half." And that is really a problem. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to make in-person and online marketing work for you. In terms of what we'll cover today, Larry's going to go ahead and talk to you about in-person marketing, so I'm going to let him cover this slide here.
So I know a lot of attorneys make an attempt at networking and they go and they don't come back with any success. So I want to give you some practical tips on how you can get quality contacts. I'll also show you sort of some basic methods that you can employ and incorporate into your own repertoire on how to connect easily with people. It's really not hard. And then, of course, there's a little technique I developed, so I'm going to share with you on how to get other people to ask you for your business card. So tip number one, have business cards with you at all times. And then finally, wouldn't you love it if you could go into instead of going to a crowd full of strangers and giving a talk, wouldn't it be cool if you could create a crowd where everybody already knows your name and they want to hear everything you have to say? So we'll discuss a method for that. And then finally, very important is, an attorney's reputation. And there's some good, basic brick by brick methods on how to build good word of mouth.
And in terms of what I'm going to discuss today, I'm going to talk about some of the things that Larry's discussing, but sort of the online version of those. So we're going to talk about social media and online interactions. We'll talk about how blogging and substantive web content can really generate new business for law firms. We'll also talk about the best way to navigate social media, because I know attorneys have a lot of questions about that, and what role social media plays in their online web presence. We'll also talk about some mistakes to avoid in your online presence, particularly one example that I see a lot that I'll bring up. We'll also talk about online content that works in business development. And lastly, we'll talk about maximizing online reviews. Online reviews are really important for attorneys, perhaps now more so than ever. So we'll talk about how to make that work for your firm. So first off, we're going to talk about social functions and getting quality contacts, and Larry's going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about that. Larry?
Well, when I started my business development efforts when I was a lot younger, I was really introverted. I was really shy. And at some point, I just decided, I just have to learn how to get to know people. And when I was about 12 years old, my dad got me a book that was published in 1936, which I highly recommend to everybody on this webinar. It's How to Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. He goes through all sorts of practical nuts and bolts techniques. He taps into human nature and just sort of explains how in a pre-internet world you can get to know people and turn that into new business. So when you're meeting somebody who's a prospective client, the first thing that you want to do is get the focus off yourself. Nobody likes to talk to somebody who's going blah, 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 all about themselves and how great they are. What you should do when you're at a social event is ask questions. Get the other person to talk. So, this can be at a social event, or it can be at an alumni gathering, or I even did this at Little League games. When my son was young, I would just strike up a conversation with someone else, and lo and behold, they were a vice president at Amoco, and I just asked him, "Do you have any legal problems that you deal with?" And he started telling me all about them. And the universal solvent to all this was just asking a question. And so here's a Dale Carnegie tip. is when you're first walking up to somebody, just take a look at them and notice them, because people, dress intentionally, and find something about the way they look, the clothing they're wearing, whether maybe they have a pin on or something like that, and notice it, and then compliment it and say, that looks great. Where did you find it? Tell me more about that. So there's a phrase you should always incorporate into your personal marketing, which is tell me more about that. Because, when it gets down to it, ultimately, if the other person is talking, you are selling, because what you're doing is you're engaging the other person. So for instance, the more you engage somebody, the more likely that they're to trust you with a legal matter, because you listened to them, you heard them out. And that's a universal need that everybody has, which is to be heard.
Thanks, Larry. So Larry made the point earlier about not wanting to seem like a pushy or used car salesman. And not only does that approach not work very well in person, it also tends not to work online either, and for a number of reasons. Firstly, more and more potential clients are turning to the internet to find law firms and to find attorneys. But unfortunately, they don't always know that they need an attorney right off the bat. What they usually know is that they have a question about a case or a problem or a matter, and that has led them to a search engine like Google to find the answer. So instead of searching for something like a basic keyword phrase, something like DUI attorney Los Angeles or business attorney New York, people are more likely to instead pose a question to Google like this: what's the best way to give co-founders options in a corporation? Or how will a DUI affect my California state nursing license? And even if a person realizes that they do need an attorney, they are still likely to conduct some online research about their problem. So when you answer those kinds of questions on your law firm's website with substantial information about that question that is meaningful and useful to potential clients, it does a couple of things. First, it helps you get found online. Google's business model really revolves around providing its users with the content that best answers the questions that they have. And Google is looking for very high quality information to return in search engine results. And Google has done a good job of that so far. There's a reason that they hold the dominant market share. So when you answer those kinds of questions in great detail, Google will index those pages, and the company is more likely to return those pages to a search engine user, in this case, your potential client, when they make a relevant search. Now, when a potential client visits your website, they are looking for your expertise, they're looking for your authority, and they're looking for your trustworthiness. And the best way to demonstrate that online is through content. Content really builds that bond of trust. It sort of takes the show, don't tell approach. So instead of shouting from the rooftop that you are the best attorney to handle their case or matter, show them that you are by creating content that showcases your knowledge about the problem that they're facing. Now, there are a variety of ways to do this, and all of them have a specific purpose in your online legal marketing. The first step is building up the content that's on what we call the substantive pages of your law firm's website. We sometimes also refer to these as evergreen pages because the information there generally doesn't change too often. So at Lawlytics, when we start working with clients who are launching a new site, we really begin our focus with the content on those substantive pages. And these are really the meat of the website, the substantive elements. And they include things like your homepage, your attorney bio or bios if you have more than one attorney at your firm, and the About the Firm page. And what we also help you build are some substantive practice area pages that are a basic overview of what you do and what areas you practice in. Now, those get built up over time as you grow your site and as you increase your content volume. But it's important to start in this way because it allows you to grow your site easily. Another thing that we recommend is, you see here the bullet about questions from new and former clients. We recommend having a solid frequently asked questions page when you're just starting and growing that over time. And the reason for that is, again, thinking about the kinds of questions that your potential clients are likely to ask you when you're sitting across the desk from them. These are the same kinds of questions that they're typing into Google. So if you are answering those questions on something like a frequently asked questions page, or in even more detail on substantive pages, then you're giving yourself an advantage with the search engines who are likely to return those pages in results when they're relevant. But again, start basic here. So drill down into more specific frequently asked questions pages as you grow your site over time. One thing to consider as you grow your site is the platform that you're using. So if you're on Lawlytics, this isn't something that you have to give too much thought to, because if you decide you want to rearrange the layout of your substantive pages or nest pages differently, you can do that with our platform. It's a very easy drag and drop sort of function, and you can rearrange those at any time in the way that you want to as you grow your site and you grow your business. If you are on another platform or working with another company, that's something that you may have to discuss well in advance with the person who's developing your site, or figuring it out for yourself if you're the person in charge of developing your web presence. In some cases, the arrangement is much more fixed and static, and if you don't plan that out well in advance, it can be a real pain to change later. But blogging is another great way to drive traffic to your site. And it's something that, for maximum benefit, it really should be done on a regular basis. At Lawlytics, we generally don't recommend blogging as a primary focus of your site until you've built up a lot of the substantive content. In our content department, they might be likely to tell you that if you're at, say, less than 1/5 of your desired site size, focus on blogging once a week. But once you have grown past that point, you can start blogging more frequently. Now, there's not a one-size-fits-all strategy for growth, and that's something that we specifically look at here. When we look at sort of, what you're trying to accomplish, what you've already done, and building a specific content plan to get you there. But there are some times when you may really want to focus on blogging, and an example of this might be for immigration attorneys right now. If you're an immigration attorney and you have a good deal of the substantive content on your site that's developed already, focusing on blogging right now could be a very good choice for your firm. There are lots of things that are changing about immigration policies right now, and that's at all levels of the government. And there are going to be your potential clients out there searching for information like that. And it's also important to consider how you'll present that information, and that's where good storytelling can come in. So if you consider something like your case results, a lot of times we see attorneys who will just post facts and figures or verdicts in their case results, but without understanding the facts and the person behind the story and the challenges and the journey that you took to get the result. Potential clients may not understand this part without some context. So instead, start with things like describing your client's frustrations. Make the situation that your client was facing real and relatable to the person who's reading the story. What was at stake? What were the odds and the obstacles that you faced? How did you prepare for it? Because it's a matter of not only saying what you did, but also how you got there. So when attorneys only talk about the conclusion, potential clients may not understand how much work went into the final result. And the details really matter. That's regardless of what kind of situation you're dealing with. The details really go a long way toward convincing potential clients that you're the right person for the job. Now, if all of these things that I have described sound like they require some work, they do. Building a meaningful web presence that drives business to your firm takes some thought and planning and energy. So if you don't have time to do these things, you can always hire a professional proxy writer. The quality of the content that you add to your law firm's website on a regular basis is really the key to starting and growing a successful web presence, and ultimately dominating your market. But if you can't write for your website on a regular basis, then using a professional proxy writer is the next best choice that you can make. Now, if you are going to hire a professional proxy writer to handle your content, you need to make sure that it is somebody who understands and who will abide by the necessary legal ethics, somebody who understands what you do as an attorney. At the end of the day, you are responsible for the content that goes on your website and on your social media as well. And if you have a non-attorney who doesn't understand legal ethics writing for your site, that could really cause some serious headaches down the line. Now, at Lawlytics, we do have a content department that evolved out of a very specific need. We had attorneys who were using our platform, who were writing their own content, and ultimately got so successful as a result that they needed help to keep publishing. And today, our content department is writing millions of words of content for attorney websites and blogs. We have several levels of content creation that we provide here. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can reach out to us to see how we can take your firm's content marketing to the next level. And now Larry is going to discuss what it takes to easily connect with people when you are face-to-face. Larry?
Great points, Victoria. I really got a lot out of that. And in fact, just to underscore what you were saying, having a great web presence is part of easily connecting with people. I mean, imagine you're in a conversation with somebody and they ask you a question. You can answer it in person, but then you can also say, we answer a lot of our clients' blog posts, questions in our blog posts. Let me text you a link to it. So, you can employ all of these digital assets in a personal conversation. There's nothing more impressive than when someone is talking to you and they need some help and you can say, I have something right here on my site. I can text it right out to you. And then, of course, now you have their number or their email address, and it makes connecting with them easier. So let me tell you a little story about when I joined Rotary. Rotary is an organization of business owners, and I had a marketing consulting practice, and I just decided, I'd like to get to know other business owners in sort of a social environment. And I noticed that every meeting I went to felt as if it was the first meeting. I'd sit down and talk to somebody, and then, the next, and it really wouldn't make any connection. And then after that, went to the next meeting and sat down and talked to somebody, and I really wasn't developing any friendships. And that's when I sort of hearkened back to a practice I had when I was practicing law, and that is act with premeditation. Always prepare. So for instance, before I had a hearing in court, I would always profile the other attorney. I would study their arguments. I would research the judge. I would find out as much about the other people as I could. And you can apply this tactic to social situations as well. So what I recommend is before you go to a networking event or a club meeting or alumni meeting, something like that, get the attendee list. Frequently, the sponsors will share that with you. And of course, it's a simple matter. If you belong to the organization, you just get a copy of the directory. So here I am in Rotary, and I just paged through the directory, and I thought, I'd really like to get to know the city manager. And there's another guy I've been really curious about, seems really sharp, owns the largest real estate company in town. So what I did was I went online and Googled them. So in the case of the city manager, I read some news stories about what are some issues that he was facing locally. And then I did some real estate research on real estate sales. So when I went to the meeting, instead of randomly sitting by somebody, I sought these people out, and I was prepared. So when I talked to the city manager, there was an ordinance coming up that was creating a lot of controversy, and I just sort of asked him, so how does this affect you? You're the neutral administrator in all this. How do you get the right information out to the public? And it was his favorite topic. He went on and on and on about it. I walked up to another meeting. I sat down next to the head of the real estate company. I said, I just read online that, sales seem to really be taking off. There's a shortage of inventory. And is this something that you're seeing in your business? And before you know it, the other person was talking and I was selling. And all I really had to do was listen. So, and if all else fails, suppose you research these two people and they're not there. Well, what you can always do is go up to the president and say, I'm really new. I'm a new member. I don't know too many people. Would you introduce me to somebody? And there's nothing more impressive to somebody at a meeting when they see the president walking over with someone in tow and the president introduces you. Right away, they're going to take an interest in you. And So kind of to sum it all up, it goes back to asking questions. If you feel awkward about asking questions, I would rehearse them. It's like, okay, I'm looking for the city manager. Here's the question I'm going to ask them, and just say them over and over and over again, so that when you're in the situation, you don't blank out, and it comes out naturally. And then when they start talking, there are two key phrases that you should always employ in the conversation. And one is to say, tell me more about that. And then after they've told you more about that, follow up and say, okay, why do you say that? And the idea is, if they're talking, you're selling. Victoria?
Thanks, Larry. So in terms of navigating social media, there are definitely some connections to what Larry was talking about here. And the first thing I think I want to bring up is that I think there used to be more of a stigma about connecting with people online, but I don't think that is so true anymore. People connect online with strangers all the time now, and it's become a really normal part of our online existence. But this is really a benefit for attorneys in a lot of ways. It gives you a lot of additional opportunities to connect with people who have related interests to yours, outside of your immediate friends circle. And one way to do that is with a strong social media presence. Now, before I get into social media, there's a couple things that I want to say. And one is that we often see attorneys who see social media as this completely separate thing to their website and blog, and it's something that they really obsess about and take a lot of time thinking about. And that approach is not going to move the needle for your firm. Social media should really be a supplemental aspect of your web presence in terms of your website and blog. Nurturing those comes first, social media really comes second. Now, how do you use social media to benefit your law firm? One of the best ways is to use it to publish new blog posts with links back to your site to drive traffic there from external sources like social media. And publishing on social media makes it easier for others to share what you've written with friends or family who may be interested in what you have to say. And your goal here is to get people back to your website through social media. There they can read more about what you have to say, read other blog posts and substantive content, and so on and so forth. Now, the big three for attorneys are really Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We caution attorneys against spreading themselves too thin by thinking about things like Instagram or Snapchat or Pinterest. There are just some social media sites that simply have more value than others for attorney, and these three here are really the ones that work: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Now, the problem is if you start thinking about joining every single social media site, it's not a good use of your time and your effort, and B, you'll ultimately end up sort of diluting your message. One other way to participate and drive business is to participate in sort of what might be described as the online conversation. Social media is not a one-way street. So while you will certainly want to post links to new material on your website, you also want to think about commenting on what other people are talking about and build a reputation as someone who is participating, as someone who's an online thought leader. And the more you participate, the more opportunities you have for people to recognize you, and whether that is a potential client or a referral source. And if I haven't stressed it enough yet, demonstrating your capacity to educate potential clients and to educate referral sources through content is really key. And you want potential clients and your referral sources to get them to that content through search engines and also through social media. Social media does not exist in its own space independent of the rest of your web presence. So when you do social media right, it really shouldn't take too much time or effort, and it should really bolster the rest of your web presence. I think among the things that makes Lawlytics useful is that we really do have a great social media feature. So let's say you have a new blog post that you want to promote. You can integrate all of your relevant social media sites, and in a couple clicks, you can update all of those social mediums at once. So you're not taking any extra time, bouncing around from site to site to update each one individually. You can do all of that at once. Now, we're going to move on to the topic of talking about yourself. Some people really enjoy talking about themselves. Some people feel completely awkward about it. But Larry's got some great tips for helping you navigate that in person. And then I'll tell you a little bit about how to do that effectively online. Larry?
You bet. So one of the things that a lot of attorneys want to figure out is, well, how can I get my business card into the other person's hand? So again, I remind you, carry business cards with you. This is not optional. And it goes back to asking the other person about their work. So, if you've done your homework, you already know a little bit about the business, but, there's nothing wrong with coming up with the most common, networking question is, so what do you do for a living? Tell me about your job. But then, follow up. It's like, oh, okay, I see. So how long have you been doing that? Where do you see yourself being in 5 years? That's a great question, by the way, because nobody has a pat answer to where you're going to be in 5 years. And then ask them, so what is it like doing that? I mean, what are some of the challenges you face? And as it goes on and on and on, now at some point you can say, that's really fascinating what you do. Could I have your business card? I'd love to stay in touch with you. And of course, they will furnish your business card, and then it's a real easy matter of just doing an exchange. It's like, oh, here's mine. By the way, another thing, don't cram all your business cards in your wallet or wherever you keep your money, because you don't want to be opening up your wallet and there's all this money and credit cards in there. Keep your business cards in a separate container. So for instance, what I do is I have a business card holder. It's nice. It's made out of leather. It's got a little piece of turquoise on it, so that when I give them my business card, it's a little bit of an event. I pull out a special container that just carries business cards. They're all in pristine condition, and I can pull out one just for them. So no more keeping business cards in your wallet. And then when you have the other person's business cards, what I always do are three things, because chances are you're going to get back into the office and everything that happened at the social event is just going to blur. So when you get a second in private, and take the other person's business card and write down the date, what day is it today, where were you, and what did you talk about? Then instead of taking the card back to the office and snapping a rubber band around it and forgetting about it, you should immediately go in and open up your contacts, or have your assistant open up your contacts and create all the information that's on the front of the card and the notes that are on the back. Because chances are you'll be emailing or telephoning the person, or maybe meeting them again, and this way you have a record of it. So when they're on the phone, it's like, oh yeah, I saw you at the Rotary meeting last February, and I remember we talked about real estate trends. Has anything changed? And right away they're like fascinated. Oh my God, you're such a great conversationalist. You remembered everything I said. And at some point you will get asked, and you should wait to get asked, what do you do for a living? And what you don't want to respond with is like a 4-paragraph description going into way more detail than the other person wants to know. Instead, you want to have what's known as a 30-second commercial. And the idea of a 30-second commercial is you can tell people what you do, but you get it all out in one breath. And there's 3 parts to it. One is, what is the function you perform? And the wrong answer is to say, I'm a lawyer. Instead, you want to say something to the effect of, well, I help business people put deals together so they can grow their businesses. Or I'm a problem solver. I solve disputes that people have in mediation. Whatever the function is that you do. Part 2 is, whom do you work with? Well, I work with local business leaders and business owners, just the sort of people that you see here at Rotary. And I help them put their business together and help grow their businesses and solve their disputes. And then part 3 is, what are the problems you solve? And this is why it's really important to get the other person to talk about their work and the issues that they're facing. Because what you're listening for are problems that people have that can be solved with legal solutions. So that when you finally get the chance to talk about what problems you solve, you can say, and you know what, I actually solve problems of exactly the kind that you face at work. And if you ever have any questions, I'd love to set up an appointment and have you come in, and we can talk further about it.
Thanks, Larry. So That's a all about you sort of problem. And I'm going to bring up another you related problem, and it has to do with a mistake in your web presence. There are a lot of mistakes that we see attorneys inadvertently making in their web presence. And unfortunately, they're mistakes that can harm their ability to get new clients. But I do want to give just one example here because it's one that always really strikes me when I see it, and it's a you-focused problem. So sometimes we'll see attorney bios that are just a list of facts and figures about the attorney. So attorney John Smith was born here, he went to school here, he graduated in this year, he has this sort of award or honors or badges or, so on and so forth. And it's such a shame to see that, because when I read these kind of bios, I cannot get any sense about what that person is like. And that can be a real turnoff for potential clients too. Potential clients are not just looking for an attorney. They are looking for somebody relatable, someone who cares about their problem, and somebody who's a person who also just happens to practice the law. Now, do potential clients want to know about what you've done in your career? Absolutely, but not before they want to know a few other things first. There is a hierarchy of needs, and it needs to start with knowing about how much you care. Then potential clients want to know how enthusiastic you are about what you do. And once they know those things, once they have a sense of that you care about their problem, that you care about what you do, then they want to know about what you've done. The order of operations there really does matter. So when you're writing an attorney bio, here are some things to consider. Before your potential clients or referral sources consider your accomplishments, they want to know about you as a person. There's this saying, I sometimes bring it up in our webinars, about people won't care about what you know until they know how much you care. And again, that's really fitting here. So aside from knowing how much you care about what you do, potential clients really want to know how enthusiastic you are. How intense is your interest in your practice, in them, in their problem? Once they know that you care about them, that you care about what you do, then they want to know about what you've done. So here's a way to think about this. Write about your journey to the law. So you need to show your potential clients that you care about them, that you care about their case, and that you care about your practice. So consider answering some of the following questions. How did you get to where you are right now? Why is it that you chose to handle the cases that you do? The types of cases that your potential client is wondering if you can help them with. What inspired what inspired you to become a lawyer? What inspired your career path? What happened during your formative years to make you decide that you wanted to practice law? What motivates you as an attorney and as a person? And really here, the deeper that you can dig for things that motivate you, and that's outside of things like winning or making money, the more you can make it about your potential client and about your success being dependent upon the benefit that you provide to potential clients, the more relatable that you make yourself to potential clients. So it's about things like getting a client through a difficult situation or giving them peace of mind. So ask yourself, what is driving you to do it? What inspires you? Who do you surround yourself with? Potential clients want to know who you surround yourself with. And that's not just in the law, though that's important too, but also in your life. So Larry's going to talk a little bit about this later, but what kinds of extracurricular activities are you part of? Do you support some kind of youth group? Are you a member of charities? What do you do for the community? What helps you define yourself outside of the law? Because people often read more into who you are based on the company that you keep than anything else you might say on your bio. Next question, who have you helped? So at Lawlytics, our platform provides a special module for specifically your attorney bio. We also provide you with a special module for your case results, so things you've done within the law to help people. But we also provide a separate module for recommendations from clients and from your peers. But that's not really what we're talking about here. Your attorney bio isn't a place for discussing individual cases, but instead you should discuss cases more generally. So think about the type of person that you typically help. You want to paint a picture of who you've helped and why you enjoy doing that. And lastly, what have you done? So here's where you can talk about what you've accomplished in your law career and your education. What qualifies you? So this can be honors, case results, publications, but Attorneys tend to just list these things. So instead of just listing those, talk about what they mean to you. So let's use a publication as an example. Talk about what it means to you to have been selected, how the selection process worked, why it's a big deal. The goal here is to give it a little bit of context. So maybe you've been selected as a top lawyer in your area by a local magazine. Answer questions like, what went into that? What was the criteria? How do they define it? And what does it mean to you? And keep in mind that what may be obvious to you, not necessarily obvious to your potential client, and especially so if they don't have a legal background. The reality is that many potential clients don't understand what the various terms of art attorneys use to compare themselves to one another. So if you are AV rated, it's good to explain what that means. If you have a perfect score of 10 on AVO, what does it mean? And what have you done to earn it? How many clients have you helped? What do you typically do during that process? And I should say this is not by any means an exhaustive list, but the more of these things that you write about in your attorney bio, the more ideas you'll have for other things to talk about in the future as well. Now I'm going to pass the mic back to Larry, and he's going to tell you a little bit about creating a crowd where everyone knows your name. And Larry, I have to say, I can't help it. When I saw this slide, all I could think of was the Cheers theme song for some reason. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so who doesn't like to walk into a room where everybody knows your name and people are already familiar with you and they're happy to see you? So here's how you can create a situation like that, because nobody wants to get up in front of walk into a room of strangers if you haven't prepared or give a talk when you don't know how to give a talk that's going to generate results. So when I tell you, this is going to sound really obvious, but what you should do is host a lunch and learn for clients and prospective clients at your office. And I'll tell you a little story that really brought this to mind. In my community, I'm the president of the local homeowners association board. And every quarter, the law firm that we use hosts a lunch and learn meeting. And it's always in a big room. They have 3 or 4 people talking. They have slides. They talk about legal issues that all of us as board members on homeowners associations face. And people love to go to these things. I love these things because I always learn something. It doesn't cost me anything. I get to know my attorneys better, and there's a free lunch. So, and it occurred to me like just how brilliant it was, because really for the cost of 150 box lunches and 150 cans of soda, you can get all sorts of people who are interested in you and your practice and what you can do for them. And they all know you, and they all want to find out more about what you have to say. And some other little touches is, this law firm made it so much fun. On each chair there was like there were like little tchotchkes and magnets that you could take home. Each seat had like a little carry bag with the law firm's name on it. So there were like little goodies. It was kind of fun. They also did surveys. They had some sort of technology where you could survey everybody in the audience and get an immediate opinion of what the majority of the room felt. And they made it fun. They gave away prizes. So everybody put their business cards into a fishbowl, and they would pull out one of the business cards, and they gave away a backpack that had a little water supply built into it. And of course, it was branded with the firm name. Now, to really get the most out of these lunch and learn meetings is when you invite clients to come to the program, mention to them that you've cleared the calendar that day, and if anybody who is coming to the program would like an appointment with you, that it's going to be first come, first serve, but contact us. We'll be happy to see you before the program. You can ask questions during the program, and then afterwards we're also taking appointments. And make sure that everybody in the firm attends this lunch and learn. You want to have, so you've got 2 or 3 speakers, but you want to have everyone else in the firm sit among the audience and strike up conversations with people, and then use the techniques I mentioned earlier. If you're sitting in the audience, just turn to the person next to you and it's like, oh, what homeowner association are you with? And what's going on with you? I I know we're working on this one matter for you, but what are some of the other problems you face? And it's just a fabulous way to get all sorts of new business, to cement client relationships for the cost of box lunches and sodas. So it's a tactic that I highly recommend you adopt.
Thanks, Larry. I think what's really neat about online marketing right now is that a lot of what you can do in terms of in-person networking can also translate into what you're doing online too. And you can reach a much broader audience, which is great. And a lot of times it doesn't require that much extra effort to translate what you do in person to something online. So as an example, if you're in a situation like the one Larry was just talking about, maybe you're doing a lunch and learn and you're giving a talk or something like that, why not maximize its reach? Have somebody record a video of your talk or record the audio so that you can post it online later. Now, one thing to think about is this. Humans can listen to the audio or watch a video and know what that talk is about, but search engines don't have that benefit. So in order to get better SEO and to make sure more people find that talk, it might be beneficial for you to type up a transcript of that discussion or that talk and have it accompany your video or your audio. Or if you want to take it a step further, why not present a companion webinar to your talk? So whether you're using PowerPoint or Google Slides, it's really pretty easy to put together some main points in slides and record some audio to go along with it. Another thing you might want to think about is visual aids, particularly infographics. You might want to take points from your talk or data points from elsewhere and turn them into an infographic. Infographics are particularly nice in that they compress a lot of information into a small space, and one that, if it's done right, is a lot of fun for people to look at. And it is also highly shareable, particularly on social media. People really like sharing infographics in emails and on social media. It's really easy to learn a lot of things in a very, very compact area. So there are a lot of programs that you can use now to create infographics for free and easily. Now, one thing I would caution you about is that you may want your infographics to match closely your law firm's branding, just because you want that degree of consistency. And if you do, I would recommend bringing in someone who is familiar with your branding, somebody who's a graphic designer, and so on. And that, of course, will save you some time as well. Larry, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about creating good word of mouth. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, once again, your reputation is the key to any business development that you do. And a thing that you have to bear in mind is that people today expect you to give back to the community. You know, the day of the attorney who just sent out a bill for services rendered and was just there to charge by the hour, those days are over. People want to see that you're not just cranking away, 3,000 hours in your law firm. And frankly, you are known by your good works. And what I would highly recommend is become visible so that people can see your good works. So find a charity or volunteer in an organization that is related to your clientele. So for instance, there's a personal injury law firm in Michigan, and they took it upon themselves to start a campaign for bicycle safety. And they put together a helmet giveaway, and it was done at a school. So all of the parents could bring their kids over, and they would get custom fitted for free with a bicycle helmet, and it was all to promote safety. And it just created this wonderful glow about the firm in the community. And of course, all the parents appreciated it. And, who knows, someday the kids will grow up and be clients. But there's all kinds of things you can do. I know law firms that, for example, have adopted a school, and they go in and they do tutoring. They help with the curriculum. They back up the teachers who are, among the poorest paid and least supported people in the working world today. And there's nothing wrong with talking about online, and I know Victoria is going to get into this, some of the good works that you've done. So one thing is, chances are you belong to a bar association, or maybe you already belong to a trade association, And what you don't want to be is just someone who's in the crowd warming a chair. You're really wasting your time if you're doing that. The idea of belonging to an organization for business development purposes is to get visible in the organization. So for instance, going back to Rotary, what I did was walked up to the president one day and said, I'm new, I'd like to get involved. Is there some sort of something I could do? You know, is there some sort of a chore that I could take care of? And the president was thrilled. He said, yes, absolutely. People want to find online, you know, the minutes of the program and who our next speaker is going to be, and we don't have a website. And I just went, I can take care of that for you, no problem. And as I got involved with the website, of course, I was dealing with the president all the time. I was dealing with the program director. I was dealing with the speakers. Suddenly, I had sort of put myself in a really important position just by volunteering. And the next thing I knew, the president said, hey, we really appreciate your work. We'd like you to be on the board. And of course, I accepted that because if you're on the board of directors, everybody in the organization knows who you are. And there's a lot of good digital equivalents to doing that. And I know Victoria's got some great points lined up.
Thanks, Larry. So Larry makes some very, very strong points about visibility. And there are definitely some ways to do that online as well. For example, if you are involved in charity events or volunteer work, you can definitely add those sorts of things in terms of content on your law firm's website to let potential clients know that these are the sort of things that your firm is doing and engaged in outside of just the practice of law. And you can always promote those things as well as talking points on social media. If you're writing blog posts about maybe an event you did over the weekend or something like that, write a quick blog post about it and then add it to your social media to really enhance it and make sure that other people see it as well. In terms of visibility, where your firm is concerned, there's also thinking about how visible you are to your potential clients. And what I want to talk about in particular is reputation management. Reputation management is really one of those things that attorneys sometimes overlook. And attorneys might start to worry about that if maybe they have a bad review online somewhere. But what we oftentimes see is the approach that's taken is, well, I don't have any reviews at all about myself, so how could that hurt me? But really that approach is not, it's not as neutral as it would seem. Having no reviews can also be very troublesome. You want to start working on, as soon as you can, your web presence, especially with your online reviews, because reviews really do matter. More and more people are looking to reviews than ever before to make decisions about all sorts of things, and that includes choosing an attorney. Your potential clients are going to look to reviews when they're making a decision about hiring you. And of course, it can be a problem if they find something negative, but it can also be a problem if they don't find anything about you. In those cases, potential clients may be more likely to look at a competitor of yours who does have reviews rather than taking their chances on an attorney for whom there's no information about from their former clients. But conveniently, if you are using the right technology, managing, collecting, and displaying positive reviews is actually pretty easy to do and doesn't require a lot of extra effort on your part. It can really be an easy win. So to get good online reviews from real clients and to avoid or mitigate negative reviews, that's very important to both your search engine optimization and to the process of converting potential clients into your clients. So in fact, reputation management for lawyers has become so important at this point that Lawlytics has two methods to help attorneys do exactly that. So the first is we have a powerful law firm reviews module that's built right into our control panel that allows you to easily post and organize reviews and recommendations from your clients and peers on your website. The second is a reputation management add-on, and that's from, we've partnered with Birdeye, and that allows attorneys to get reviews, to monitor reviews, to filter and display those reviews across a wide range of review sites, and that includes the big ones, Google, Facebook, Yelp, Avvo, and a lot of the smaller ones as well. Attorneys, we really feel, should have control over the review process because there are marketers out there without legal backgrounds that can really get attorneys into trouble. A couple examples of the ways that we've seen things go wrong might include your marketing person posts fake positive reviews about you, or they post fake negative reviews about your competitors, or they alter reviews, say for spelling or grammar, and changes their meaning. Or maybe your marketing person solicits reviews unethically, or solicits reviews in a way that causes you to get negative reviews. And my point here is that it's your reputation. We believe that no law firm SEO company should be in charge of managing or cultivating it. Now, the good news is that getting and managing reviews is really easy when you're using the right technology. The setup time should be absolutely minimal. And really, the involvement of your firm can be baked into the process of closing files at the conclusion of a matter. So with this add-on that we have, it's simple and it's automated to ask multiple former clients to review you. And that's without taking up a lot of your productivity. So we offer the Birdeye add-on to both our attorney members and our non-members. It does come at a discount if you are a member. And we recently presented a webinar on reputation management in general, as well as involving the Birdeye add-on to teach you how easy it is to manage and to grow your online reviews and to protect your reputation. And again, if you do want to see that webinar, it's available over on our webinars page. Now, as we wrap up today's webinar, I want to thank all of you so much for tuning in. And I hope what Larry and I had to say is helpful for you. And I also want to thank James Wynn for hosting us. I do want to encourage you to feel free to go check out any of our other free on-demand webinars, as well as blog posts. All of those resources are available to you for free to help you understand how the internet works and how your potential clients are using it to find you. If you've got questions about your online legal marketing or about search engine optimization, or you're just ready to take your online marketing to the next level, we are here to help and we're happy to talk with you. So feel free to contact us through any of the methods that you see here. You can submit a consultation request from our main website at www.lawlytics.com. You can always call us at 800-713-0161. Or if you've got questions, you can always shoot us an email at info@lawlytics.com. And with that, James, I'm going to turn the mic back over to you.
Thank you, Victoria. We actually have a few questions from our attendees that we'd like to cover. And the first one is, how long should the attorney bio be typically on their website?
That's a really great question. So in terms of, a question that we always sometimes get from attorneys as well is, does Google care about word count? Does Google care about the word count on my substantive pages or my blog posts? The answer to that is no, but it involves understanding why that is. Google really cares about the quality of the content is there, that's there. So usually when somebody asks me how long does something need to be, the answer that I give to that is that as long as it needs to be written. So if you're writing something that you feel can be covered appropriately in 500 or 750 words, that's great. If you feel like it needs to be longer, it needs to be 1,000 words or 1,500 words to really explain things well, then write it to that length. Write it to the length that it needs to be written is usually the guideline that I give. And so long as the information that's there is really of a high quality, that is the most important thing. Larry, do you have any other thoughts on that?
You made some excellent points, and I realized that I need to rewrite my own bio because, I need to put in my own journey. I need to put in, why I'm doing this and sort of less of where I was, but, why I'm passionate about the work that I do now. And it's really about telling your story in an engaging way. And, Victoria, you hit the nail exactly on the head that, take as much space as you need, but don't, fill it up with lists that don't have stories behind them or just a big collection of badges. Tell people something interesting about you, something engaging about you that, that shows you have an outside life, that you volunteer for organizations, that you have a family, that you have a dog or a cat or whatever, make yourself human. And as long as you engage people, the bio's the right length.
Okay, thank you so much, Larry. Finally, we have the last question we have is from a attendee who practices criminal law, civil rights and discrimination law. And, these typical services that he provides, they don't typically come up in normal conversation, you know? So any suggestions on this unique practice area in terms of engaging people in, networking and social events in person?
Well, a good example that I would recommend you take a look at is the Shouse Law Firm in California. It's SHOUSE. They do a superb job online by providing all sorts of information about particular crimes, particular courtrooms, statutes that come into play, and it really it really is sort of an information resource that people can use when they find themselves charged with a crime. And the thing about building a criminal practice is it's always good if you do something in addition, on the side. For instance, maybe you represent some business clients, because you never know when the son of the president of the corporation is going to get a DUI, or when the daughter of the city manager, whom you got to know at the Rotary meeting, gets stopped on a drug bust or something like that. It's one of these things of, you just need to be out in the community. You need to ask questions about other people, and then, find ways to let them know what you do, and they'll seek you out.
And one point I just want to make in addition to that, I think is, certainly there are some areas where I understand that the person who's asking this question, may not have a lot of opportunities to, go up and ask people about, things that pertain to criminal defense. But I think this is particularly where online presence is very important, because things that pertain to criminal defense that potential clients might be interested in, they may be, Googling at some late hour at night. They're embarrassed or frightened about whatever is happening to them. They may not want to, be particularly vocal with other people about it. And that's where content, I think, is a very important part of that, where if you are providing them with the information that they need to know about their case or problem or what have you, then you really start to build that bond of trust, and, hopefully assuage their fears a little bit and encourage them to contact you when you give them a lot of information about, what should I expect if I've been pulled over for a DUI in California, or how will that affect my nursing license, or do I have to disclose that information on a job application, or things like that. These are questions that people are commonly asking. So if you are addressing a lot of that information on your website, that really makes it easier for them to realize that you understand what you're talking about, that you can help them with that problem, and that it should be, it would be in their best interest to reach out to you.
Here's a 30-second commercial for a criminal defense lawyer. You can, if somebody asks you what you do, you say, well, I assert people's rights in civil rights and criminal situations. I work with people who have been charged with crimes, perhaps wrongly, and what I do is find the best possible outcome for these people so that their lives aren't ruined. Something like that. And then right away, somebody's going to say, oh, well, how do you do that? And now you've got a conversation going.
Larry, Victoria, thank you so much for today's presentation. And I would like to thank you for joining us. And we look forward for everyone to join us for our next scheduled webinar next month. Thank you.
Thanks so much, James.
Thanks a lot.